Majestäten,
Your Majesties, Federal President, Ms. Budenbender, Excellencies, Federal Chancellor, President of the Bundesrat, President of the Federal Constitutional Court, colleagues, distinguished guests. Your Majesty, it is a great honour for us to greet you here at the German Parliament. On behalf of the whole House, I welcome you, Her Majesty Queen Consort, and your high-level delegation very warmly. I would also like to greet two former federal presidents, Mr. Gauck and Mr. Wolf. A warm welcome to you. In addition, I would like to greet four former Speakers of Parliament, Ms. Süßmuth, Ms. Bergmann-Pohl, Mr. Thierse, Mr. Lammert. I'm pleased that you were also able to join us today. I think the presence of so many eminent guests underlines the importance of German-British relations. Your Majesty, on our day of national mourning in 2020, you spoke to a small, select audience as the Prince of Wales. Today, you will address the German Bundestag as King and as representative of one of the oldest democracies in the world. And your visit coincides with a very special exhibition at the Bundestag. The exhibition shows the constitutional document adopted by the Frankfurt National Assembly of 1848 to 1849, a key document in German democratic history. And the exhibition includes the story of one chapter in German-British history. After the forcible dissolution of the National Assembly, the constitutional document was rescued by a courageous member of the Assembly who took it to Manchester for safekeeping, thus preserving it for posterity. And this is only one brief episode in the long shared history of our two countries. In the 20th century, German-British history was one of extremes. The United Kingdom made a major, indispensable contribution to liberating Europe from National Socialism. For this, we are profoundly grateful. And we will never forget that the United Kingdom provided sanctuary to many of those subject to persecution. In the weeks and months following the November pogrom in 1938, the British took in thousands of Jewish children. Often they were the only members of their families to survive the Holocaust. And Your Majesty, a monument has been erected at Liverpool Street Station, recalling this act of humanity at your initiative. During my visit to the United Kingdom a few weeks ago, I was able to meet a small number of those rescued, and I was extremely moved by this encounter. I would like to greet Lisa Bechner, who is in the galleries. She heads an association which promotes remembrance of the Kindertransport. Ms. Bechner, a very warm welcome to you. After the war, the United Kingdom supported the integration of the Federal Republic of Germany into the Western community of states and fostered democracy. And the first foreign guest to speak in the Bundestag was the head of a delegation from the House of Commons. In his speech, Arthur Woodburn advised his German colleagues of the most vital ingredients for a successful democracy, namely humour. Over the years, the United Kingdom became a friend to us Germans and supported reunification. This is something that we will also never forget. This parliamentary building symbolises our friendship in a special way. It was a British architect who was responsible for reconstructing the Reichstag. Norman Foster's glass dome has become the symbol of the Bundestag. Lord Foster spoke of it as a beacon signalling the vigour of the democratic process. Your Majesty, many Germans admire the British culture and lifestyle, and they remember your mother with deep respect. Throughout her life, Queen Elizabeth II worked to promote reconciliation between our two countries. In the year 2000, accompanied by her father, Prince Philip, she came here to the Bundestag and visited the Dome. The United Kingdom and Germany are and will remain close allies and trustful partners. This will not change after the United Kingdom's decision to leave the European Union. The people in our countries are bound together by travel and commerce, cultural and intellectual exchange, and often also by mutual fascination. Our parliaments enjoy close ties. Our governments cooperate closely in many organisations and formats. Together, the United Kingdom and Germany seek to promote a rules-based international order. We stand together with Ukraine in its battle for freedom and self-determination. We are united by shared values and by our interest in resolutely tackling the challenges of our time. Nowhere is this more urgent than in the existential issue to which you, sir, have long been committed, the battle to combat climate change and to preserve our natural resources. You emphasised our shared responsibility for the future 3 years ago in your speech on the 2020 Day of National Mourning. You said, "Together we are an indispensable force for good in our world. Today we need this force more than ever." Your Majesty, I would now like to invite you to take the floor.
Sehr geehrter Herr
Mr. Federal President, President of the Bundestag, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honour to be here with you today. It means a great deal to both my wife and myself that we've been invited to Germany on my first overseas tour as sovereign. And it is a particular honour to be here with you, where I wish to renew the pledge of friendship between our nations. There could be few better places to do so than in this building, which in its very stones tells the history of the 20th century. It is in itself a demonstration of what binds our two countries. It was burnt in 1933 severely damaged in 1945. And in the 1990s, it was rebuilt by a British architect to be the parliament of a reunited democratic Germany. Its iconic glass dome is a symbol of the transparency and accountability of Parliament, from which the citizens, looking down, can literally oversee their politicians at work. Truly democracy in action. My wife and I last had the honour of joining you in this chamber in November 2020 on the occasion of the Volkstrauertag, the National Day of Mourning. It was of great importance to me, 75 years after the Second World War, to stand with Germans in honouring all victims of war and tyranny. And to be the first member of my family to participate in those deeply moving commemorations. That you invited us to join you on that occasion showed how far the United Kingdom and Germany had travelled together in friendship and in peace. Just as was demonstrated so powerfully 2 years before by your presence in London, Mr. President, in 2018, when you took part in the centenary of the end of the First World War.
Today, it gives me particular pride to be with you once again, now as King, and to renew the special bond of friendship between our two countries. This friendship meant so much to my beloved mother, the late Queen, who often spoke of the 15 official visits she made to Germany, including her 5 state visits. The first of those in 1965 came when our continent was still deeply scarred by war and the trauma of conflict. Hers was the wartime generation, and like my father, the Queen had served in uniform. That my parents' 11-day tour of Germany should prove to be a pivotal moment in the reconciliation between our nations was therefore a matter of great personal significance to them both.
My mother understood the immense achievement that reconciliation represented. And in returning to Germany time and again, she was determined to play her own part. Perhaps it is for this reason that Her late Majesty won a particular place in the affection of the German people. My family and I were deeply touched by the reaction in Germany to my mother's death. The tributes offered in this chamber, the Union flag projected onto the Brandenburg Gate, and the many thousands of messages in condolence books across the country offered a tremendous comfort to us in our time of grief. On behalf of my entire family, I would like to offer our heartfelt thanks for the extraordinary kindness that the people of Germany showed to us. Mr. Federal President, President of the Bundestag, since I last spoke in this building, the scourge of war is back in Europe. The unprovoked invasion of Ukraine has inflicted the most unimaginable suffering on so many innocent people. Countless lives have been destroyed. Freedom and human dignity have been trampled in the most brutal way. The security of Europe has been threatened, as our democratic values threatened. Yet the world has not merely stood by. Even as we abhor the appalling scenes of destruction, we can take heart from our unity in defense of Ukraine, of peace and freedom. Germany and the United Kingdom have shown vital leadership. As Europe's two largest donors to Ukraine, we have responded decisively. We have taken decisions which might previously have seemed unimaginable. Germany's decision to send such significant military support to Ukraine is remarkably courageous, important, and appreciated. Our pilots are flying side by side on joint operations over our Baltic allies. Here in Germany, our armies have established a joint amphibious engineer battalion, which I will visit later today. Germany is the only nation in the world with which the United Kingdom has such a joint unit. An extraordinary testament to the partnership we enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can hardly begin to express the pride I feel in the strength of the partnership between our two countries. Germany, her people, and distinctive culture have made such a profound impact on me over so many years, or so many of my previous visits. Since I first came to Germany, when I was just 13 years old, I have grown to become familiar with the different corners of this remarkable land. Like many British people, I have close personal ties here. In my case, cherished family relationships and associations that go back generations. For all of us, however, there are countless points of connection and common experience in the British-German story, which has unfolded over nearly 2 millennia. Throughout the Middle Ages, the renowned Hanseatic League traded goods from Lübeck and Hamburg to ports up and down the English coast, establishing a trading partnership which underpins our shared prosperity to this day. Where goods travelled, ideas travelled too, how a people came to be inspired by each other's example. Wir entwickelten eine
We developed a profound admiration of one another's literature and music. German was the first language into which Shakespeare was translated. And the first Shakespeare Association in the world was established in 1865, not in England, but in Weimar. In just a few weeks' time, in Westminster Abbey at the coronation, we will again hear astonishing music of Georg Friedrich Händel, who was born a German and died British. Just has been the case at every coronation since that of my 7 times great-grandfather, King George II, in 1727.
Throughout the centuries, people have travelled back and forth between our lands. In the 19th century, many Britons fell in love with Germany whilst on the Grand Tour. William Turner's mesmerising paintings of the Rhine sparked in his countrymen the ambition to see those landscapes for themselves, a demand later met by Thomas Cook, the pioneer of tourism, who would organise his first foreign trip along the Rhine, with stops at Cologne, Frankfurt, Heidelberg, and Baden-Baden. Today, millions of Britons visit Germany each year, just as millions of Germans travel to our shores. Britons come to admire Berlin's vibrant culture and nightlife, making up Europe's largest visitor group to this wonderful city. So we are still admiring of each other's culture, dependent upon each other's economies and inspired by each other's ideas. More recent generations may think as readily of the Beatles or Kraftwerk as they do of Brahms or Baron, but the web of cultural connections is as strong as ever. And perhaps most importantly, for the last 50 years, we have laughed together, both at each other and with each other. And while Miss Sophie's the same procedure as every year, James, and while that does not, I hope, give a very accurate impression of modern Britain, it is, I know, an integral part of a German Happy New Year. In Britain, Germany's comedy ambassador, Henning Wenn, has given us an understanding of German quirks, as Monty Python brought our own here. And like all old friends at moments, the warmth of our relationship allows a small smile at each other's expense.
Of course, there are rivalries in some areas. And I think especially of our encounters on the football pitch. Against this backdrop, it was particularly special that the England women's football team, the Lionesses, were able to win the Euros against Germany. Beyond their sporting success, both teams have promoted gender equality in such an impressive way. In so doing, they inspired a generation. In Britain, Germany, and far beyond.
This is just one example of how our countries together can offer a compelling example to the world. There are, I am delighted to say, very many more. Faced with so many shared challenges, the United Kingdom and Germany are together providing leadership to secure our shared future. Today, the United Kingdom and Germany are Europe's two largest producers of power from offshore wind. Many German firms are involved in the production and erection of turbines off the British coast. The North Sea, across which our people have travelled and traded for generations, is soon to be the site of a new interconnector, allowing us directly to trade electricity. Our countries are both accelerating the expansion of our hydrogen economies, the fuel which could transform our future, and I'm looking forward to seeing Hamburg's plans to use hydrogen in its efforts to become a fully sustainable port. These innovations are vital in combating the existential challenge of climate change and global warming, which confronts us all. And as such, I was delighted to meet participants of the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue yesterday to hear how countries are accelerating this transition. Seit langem sind die britische und die deutsche wissenschaftliche Forschung.
For a long time, British and German scientific research has been leading the way. Our countries rank in the top 2 in Europe for founding successful new technology startups. Our universities and research institutions collaborate more often with each other than any other 2 countries in Europe. This helps to explain why a Berlin-based company has pioneered in London the use of lampposts for electric vehicle charging points. While in Berlin, you can book a ride in a fully electric London-style taxi. Internationally, too, we are working closely together. We helped initiate the Just Energy Transition Partnership with South Africa at the Climate Conference in Glasgow. A further such partnership with Indonesia was the result of much cooperation during Germany's G7 presidency.
Mr. President, President of the Bundestag, ladies and gentlemen, this essential partnership between our 2 countries is built of the expertise, dedication, and ingenuity of countless people in both Germany and the United Kingdom. To them all, I could only offer my sincere and heartfelt gratitude. Tomorrow we will once again stand with the people of Germany in solemn remembrance. In Hamburg, I will pay my respects at the memorial to the Kindertransport, which 85 years ago saved the lives of more than 10,000 Jewish children from Nazism and gave them safe passage to new lives in Britain. I will also join you, Mr. President, and First Mayor Tschentscher in remembering those who perished in the Allied bombing of Hamburg in 1943. Aus der Vergangenheit.
Heeding the lessons of the past is our sacred responsibility. But it can only be fully discharged through a commitment to our shared future. Together, we must be vigilant against threats to our values and resolute in our determination to confront them. Together, we must strive for the security, prosperity, and well-being that our people deserve. In the long and remarkable story of our two countries, there are many chapters yet unwritten. Let us fill these with the restless pursuit of a better tomorrow. The legacy of our past and the great promise of our future demand nothing less. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention.